Have you been wondering how you can get started selling books on Amazon? Well, I've got two ways for you to get started. One's the budget method, and one's the high roller method if you got a little bit more money to spend. So stay tuned to see how to get started. Hey guys, my name is Jason Sloan, otherwise known as Prof Sales, and I want to welcome you to the Prof Sales YouTube channel. If you've never been here before, then you're going to want to know that this channel is about being an entrepreneur, making some money on the side, and just being the best you can be. And I am glad you've stopped by. I would also like you to do two things for me. One, hit the like button down below if you like this content, you're enjoying what you hear. And consider subscribing. Subscribing will let you know every time I put out a video and you won't have to go searching for it. So today's video is all about how to get started in the book business. And when I started thinking about this topic, I realized that a lot of people don't know exactly what they need and how much money it's going to take. So I'm going to try to cover both of those things for you. I'm going to give you two different paths you can take. One is sort of a budget approach, which will get you started and will definitely get you down the road. The second one is more of a high roller approach. Okay, so what kind of equipment are you going to need? Well, you're going to need a smartphone. Now, could you source books without a smartphone? You could. But in this day and age, a lot of people have a smartphone, and it's just so easy to use in so many different ways for book sourcing, as well as other ways too that enhance our lives. If you don't have a smartphone, then you're probably going to be looking at some sort of portable database solution because you're going to need a way to scan books and see what they have been selling for. And the only way to do that is to carry around a database with you. That's not ideal. I would try to save up and get a smartphone if you don't already have one. So I'm not going to put a price on that because there's so many that'll work. Android from Samsung and the iPhone from Apple are the two largest players, but they're certainly not the only players. You can use others as well. But a smartphone is really a necessity for a book selling business. The next thing you're going to need is a Bluetooth scanner. So what is a Bluetooth scanner? A Bluetooth scanner is a little device that allows, through the Bluetooth connection, you to connect the scanner to your phone. And what that does is it acts as a barcode reader so that everything that the scanner scans will show up in a screen on the iPhone or the Android or whatever smartphone you have, and it allows you to very quickly get barcode information into your phone. And we'll talk about in a moment why you need that information. But instead of typing all that info in and making mistakes, a Bluetooth scanner is going to enable you to go very, very quickly. So on a budget, you could get an EYOYO, E-Y-O-Y-O, that's hard to spell, hard to say. And they run for about $47. There will be a link to that here in the description of this video, as well as a link to everything that I'm talking about today. And it will work just fine. It will link to your smartphone and will allow you to scan barcodes very, very quickly. If you want to go with more of a high roller approach, I recommend the KDCI, which is, the M is good too, which is a more sophisticated barcode scanner. It's quiet, it's very fast, it's very reliable. It's going to set you back more money. It's going to be more like $210 for that. Again, there will be a link to that below. But I've been using one for now, I guess, 2.5 years. It's what Karn uses as well, and I highly recommend it. You also are probably going to want earbuds. Why are you going to want earbuds? Because the software we're going to talk about in a moment makes noise, and that noise can be annoying to people around you. Sometimes you're going to want to be sort of incognito wherever you're sourcing. You don't want people to exactly know what you're doing. And these days, most people walk around with earbuds in and no one thinks anything about it. If you're on the budget plan, I would recommend you use earbuds that came with your smartphone. They came included in the price and you should use them, and that may be all you ever need. If you want to go and get a little more sophisticated, you can get wireless earbuds, which are great because then you're not connected to your phone all the time and you're not getting wires tangled around your arm. I catch them all the time on shelves and books and pull them right out of the phone. I recommend the Tozo T10s. They're going to set you back about $40. That's more the high roller option. But wireless earbuds are really great. You can actually spend well over $100 for wireless earbuds, but you really don't need anything too sophisticated, just enough so you can hear what your phone's doing, which we will talk about in a moment why you want to do that. Okay, next up is subscriptions. Now, there are several subscriptions you're going to want to consider as a bookseller, but let's start off with the most basic one. You're going to need an Amazon selling account. That is free. It doesn't cost you anything. The only downside to the free account is for each item that you sell, you will be charged basically $1. That is Not a huge amount of money, but it does add up over time. And you will have to consider that into the cost of your goods when you're sourcing. If you want to go the high roller route, which I actually recommend, go ahead and get the professional selling account, which is going to run you $40 a month. So you see, after you sell 40 items, you're going to break even on that $1 per item charge. So again, if you're just going to be a small bookseller and maybe sell 5-10 books a month, maybe stay with the free account forever. But the professional selling account is going to give you other options too to connect to other things, and I highly recommend it. Next up is a book scouting app. This is probably the most important part of your book selling arsenal. And a book scouting app is basically a way for you to see the information about books when you go out and scan them with your Bluetooth scanner. Starting off, you can use the Amazon Seller app, but that's not going to tell you what you need to know. It's going to tell you what the book is currently selling for. It's going to show you other offers. It's going to show you the current sales rank. It's not going to give you any history of that book. It's not going to tell you profitability easily, and it's really kind of clunky and cumbersome, to be perfectly honest. But to get started, it's a good thing to know because there's going to be times you're going to use that anyway. Once you decide to go more the high roller route, I recommend getting Scout IQ. I think it's the best book sourcing app out there. You can get a free 14-day trial to see how you'd like it. It enables you to set up triggers that you can set based on your rank requirements, based on how much profitability you want to make, based on all kinds of factors that allow you to accept or reject books. After the free trial, you basically will pay $44 a month for the database plus live option. There are cheaper options available, but I love being able to download the current database and just go out there and start scanning right away. The next thing you're going to want to consider is a book listing app. Now you can list for free, this is the budget route, in the Amazon Seller Central login. I have not had a lot of experience doing that. I don't find it to be very user-friendly, but to get started, especially if you're on the free account, you should probably do that. It will cost you nothing, and you will see kind of how Amazon wants their information to be set up, which is always useful. After you decide to move more towards a high roller approach, I recommend AccelerList. You also can get a 14-day free trial to that, link in description below. And after that, it's going to cost you $34 a month. AccelerList is going to give you a lot more functionality. It's going to allow you to go very quickly. You're going to need to do things like boxing up your books, which is going to allow you to provide box content information, super simple. See other offers that are out there in real time, and decide how to price your books appropriately. Keepa is a subscription that you don't have to get right away. Keepa shows you historical data on any item that it has information on that's sold on Amazon, so you can see sort of the sales history of an item. This can be useful when you're trying to make a tough decision on a particular book on whether or not it's really going to sell that well or not. For instance, if a book sells a lot recently, the rank is going to get really, really good. But maybe historically it hasn't sold so good. So that might change your opinion. You're not going to know that without Keepa. If you go the high roller route, that's going to cost you $17 a month. It used to be free. It's no longer free. That's up to you. Keepa has pluses and minuses. Once you get more experience, I think you can move beyond Keepa. And the last thing you're going to want to consider is a repricer. A repricer allows you to stay competitive with your book pricing as prices change in the marketplace, and they will change quite a bit. At first, you should reprice yourself because you can go right into Amazon Seller Central and reprice your books. You can look at the history, or you can look at what's selling right now, what they're selling for, and make decisions on what you should price them on. After a while, that may no longer work for you. If you get a larger and larger inventory, it just becomes very time intensive. Plus, repricers can run throughout the day. Whereas if you want to reprice yourself, you're just going to have to go in there and do it each individual time. And you can miss the opportunity to sell a book just because you're not at your desktop or on your phone and able to reprice. I recommend Profit Repricer. It's built right into the AccelerList platform. You can get that for an additional $24 a month. I know that's an extra fee, but to be perfectly honest, if you just sell even a few books, that $24 a month more than pays for itself. Repricers are a necessity once your book inventory gets large. What's a large inventory? It's really up to you. I would say definitely 500 books is a large inventory and would take you a long time to reprice, in my opinion. But even some people would say even as little as 200. So definitely consider a repricer. Okay, so right now I'm going to stop for just a moment and ask you guys in the comments. I want you to type in a comment and say, If money has been your biggest obstacle to getting started in book selling, just write the word money in all caps, M-O-N-E-Y. I'd love to hear from you and see if that's been an obstacle. We're going to talk about that here in a moment. But next up, we're going to talk about apps and what apps you need. I've already mentioned the Amazon Seller app. That's a free app. You can get that, and it doesn't matter whether it's budget or high roller. And you will definitely want to get that and have that on your smartphone or on your desktop or tablet. Next thing you might consider is a mileage app. If you want to go the budget route, you can just keep track of your mileage in your notebook. And this mileage is going to enable you to have a nice tax deduction at the end of the year. So it's worth keeping track of how much time you spend sourcing and taking stuff to UPS or FedEx or wherever you're dropping off your boxes of books. If you would like to get a app, you might consider Mile IQ. It's $6 per month, allows you unlimited drives. You can classify every drive you take because you may have some drives that are personal drives and some drives that are not personal and business related, and you want to be able to separate those out. And at the end of the year, you can have reports that you can print and send to like your CPA or whoever's doing your taxes, whether you're doing them, and it tidies it up in a nice, neat bundle for you. A mapping app is also a great way to figure out what your route is. I am just going to say you should use Google Maps, whether you're budget or high roller. Google Maps is free with a Google account, and Google Account's free. You can set up destinations in there. You can highlight them. You can go in and say, I've already gone to this place. It's now a favorite or not a favorite. And this will enable you to stay very efficient with your route. If you're going to say 5 stops in a day, you don't want to be driving all over town. You want to take the quickest, most efficient route. It saves you on expense and saves you on time. And just like any other business, time is money. So I would highly recommend getting Google Maps. All right, next up is what supplies will you need to start and get going in your Amazon book selling business? And there are several supplies I think you need to have. First of all, you're going to need what are called F&SKU labels. F&SKU is just the label that Amazon uses and requires to be put on every single book. You're going to need those labels to be put over the barcode. You're also going to need some blank labels to cover up any extra barcodes that may show up in the book, because the only barcode that can be showing is the F&SKU label barcode. For the budget user and the high roller, I recommend getting the Dymo 10,000 pack. You can get that up for $33. Why do I recommend 10,000? You're always going to use more labels than you think you're going to use. And you might think, well, I'm going to go source 100 books a month. Well, that's going to take you more than 100 labels. You're going to have extras. You're going to mess up some labels occasionally. You're going to want to use them for something else. So I recommend just, saving a lot on the front end and spending the $33. That will get you 10,000 labels. You could buy just 1,000, but you're going to find yourself running out, especially if you scale this to any size at all. As far as a printer, you're going to need 2 different types of printers. You're going to need one that's for the F&SKU labels. And you could print those labels on a laser printer with 30 count labels, 30 up they call them. That's just a single sheet of paper that has 30 labels on it. I don't recommend doing that, but it's totally up to you if you want to do that. It's definitely a little cheaper in some ways, but I recommend going ahead and getting a nice Dymo or Zebra or Rollo printer. I like the Dymo 450. You can pick that up for about $85. It's a small little printer and it will print out on thermal paper, so there's no ink to change. Those ink cartridges can add up over time, the cost of those. It's one of those hidden costs you don't really see, but they do add up. So I like the thermal printer much better. And I would recommend that for the budget or the high roller. You're also going to need to print off shipping labels. Now, shipping labels could be printed on just a regular printer with a piece of paper, but I like to print just a nice smaller label because I use it also for 2D barcodes, which I'm not going to talk about in this video sometimes, but I like using a 4x6 shipping label, 4 inches by 6 inches. So the Dymo XL, you can pick up for $180. That printer is really good in my opinion, and I've used it for multiple things, even just outside of business. Now, understand that I'm saying that these printers are $85 and $180. You can pick them up used for much cheaper than that. Of course, buyer beware. I'm going to include links to the new ones in the description of this video, but if you want to go the used route, give it a shot. And if it's a good deal, you probably will come out ahead. As far as a computer, you really don't need a sophisticated computer to do this. You technically can do it with any laptop or desktop. I find using a laptop or desktop is much easier than trying to do it on a phone, that would be really cumbersome. So I think if you're on a budget, you might look at the Lenovo Chromebook. You can pick that for about $232 currently on Amazon. But I like Apple products because it integrates so well with my phone and iPad and all that good stuff. The MacBook Air from 2013 is the one that I still use. It can be found new for $750. It's a little pricier, but it's a nice little computer. It doesn't have a lot of storage on the computer itself, so you may end up using the cloud, but that's the way a lot of computers are moving these days anyway. You're gonna need Scotty peelers to sometimes get labels or things off of books. Those are $7 for a little small pack of those. Budget or high roller, doesn't really matter. Rubbing alcohol, Isolimo makes a nice rubbing alcohol that's 91%. You can pick up a bottle for $4.25 or 6 bottles for $19 basically. You can also find that at your drugstore. You may even find it cheaper. Rubbing alcohol is great because it evaporates quickly and will clear a lot of things off of the covers of books. But just be careful and always test in a small area because some covers of books will get discolored by rubbing alcohol. In worst case, you can always cover some with a label if you don't think that you can get off with rubbing alcohol. Packing tape, you're gonna need tape for your boxes. You're gonna go through packing tape much quicker than you think because you're gonna need extra tape for these boxes. They're heavy, you're gonna have to tape them with extra amounts. 6 rolls you can get for $12.29, or you can get 36 rolls for $46. I usually go ahead and get the 36 rolls because I go through it. You can go through a roll of tape in one good size shipment nearly, it seems like. So consider that. A tape gun, I like the Scotch gun for $13.68 that you can find also in the description. It's a really good gun. Actually, I think I have it right here in front of me. You can see it's nicely made and it's got this nice grip that allows you to, your hand doesn't get tired if you're taping after a while. That does come up from time to time. So shipping boxes, the best way to go on the budget route with shipping boxes is to get them for free. So if you can find shipping boxes that'll work, that are sturdy enough, remember books are heavy. So if you get smaller boxes, you can put less books in, they don't need to be quite as strong, but if you get a little bit bigger, they need to be hopefully extra strength because they could fall apart when you start loading 40 and 45 pounds in a box. The small extra strength 15-inch or the small extra strength 15 for $25 boxes at Walmart are a great deal. You can also find similar deals sometimes at Lowe's and Home Depot. They're small and they will hold roughly 32 books. It kind of depends on the book size, and that's a nice size because that puts you around right under your 50-pound weight limit. And then poly bags. You might not need any poly bags, but occasionally you might have a shipment of 1 or 2 books going to a random location, and a poly bag can sometimes be an easy way to ship it to them. You can get 100 of those for $11, and those come in handy for other uses as well. All right, so lastly, we're going to talk about how much money do you need to get started. Well, I can tabulate up all the money you're going to need for the budget and the high roller amounts, but what about capital to actually go get books? Well, that's a great question. And the short answer to that is it depends. You can find some books probably around your house. There's all kinds of ways to get free books, but ultimately you're going to end up paying some amount of money per book probably. And that just really varies depending on your sources. I think for most people who are starting out with not textbooks, which I don't really recommend you start with textbooks necessarily, but if you don't start with textbooks, you're probably going to find that you're going to spend anywhere from maybe as low as $0.25 a book to as high as $2-3 a book on average. So probably somewhere in that $1.50 to $2 range is a good average to start. Round it up to $2 just to be safe. So let's say you want to go and your initial goal is I want to source 100 books this month. You're going to need $200 in sourcing capital, plus all the capital you're going to need for all these other ventures, depending on whether you go the budget or the high roller route. And remember, you can mix and match the budget and high roller. You can go budget in some areas, high roller in others. As you build up capitals, you make sales. You can always, spend more money on the high roller items if you think it'll be efficient. Some of the high roller items are more useful than others, just like in any other business. Some you will think you need, some you won't really need. And that's okay if you buy some things that you end up not being so useful for you. But you're going to need some capital to get started, just depending on how many books you want to start with. So consider setting that aside. And, getting the books is great, but you are going to need the other things around this business to really make it successful. So it's not just enough to go buy books and hope that you can make everything work, because it can be really difficult to do that when you don't have the right supplies or the right tools to do the job, and you can make a lot of costly mistakes. So there's 2 approaches for you, budget and high roller. I hope that was helpful. Leave me a comment down below and tell me what you thought of this video. And stay tuned as we continue our book selling journey. And I'll see you guys real soon. This is Prof Sales saying good sales to you.